Good morning, Turfs Up Radio. Wayne Voles, Profits Unlimited, coming to you live from Louisville, Kentucky. Yes, indeedy. Oh, my goodness. We got a great show planned today. We're going to talk a little bit about what went on over the weekend a little bit and hopefully find out from you guys what y'all did fun over the weekend. And we got a special guest hopping on here in a little bit with us. We're going to have Brett with BAM Weathers going to hop on with us and give us a little insight on what it's looking like coming up, and we'll see what he's got to say about that. And want to give a big shout out to Daniel for a great show, and Eric and Jennifer this morning for a great show. And here we are, Monday, February. What is today? 9th? Yeah. So here we go, man. Almost a third of the way through February, and it just seems like we were talking about, holidays and Christmas and Hanukkah and all those things just very short time ago. And I guess realistically, calendar wise, it is, but man, it's crazy to believe that here we are, February 9th, Valentine's Day coming up. Hopefully, you guys have thought a little bit about that and what you're going to be doing if it's not snowing where you're at. So, and who knows what that's going to bring. We'll ask Brett about that, see what he thinks about that as well. But yeah, we had a good start off here at WLS this morning. We got one down. Kyle was under the weather a little bit. His family was all sick last week, except for him and his one daughter. And he said he didn't feel terrible, but he didn't feel right. So he was going to be kind and give us a break and not come in today. So we certainly do appreciate that. And he can certainly do what he has to do from home. So that's what he was going to do today. Hopefully you're feeling pretty good. Hopefully you haven't had an opportunity to catch the crud. I've been pretty lucky, and so's Daniel and Katie, and we've been pretty fortunate. So Tabitha hadn't been sick. Caitlin's been little something going on, but nothing too crazy. And I don't know. Alyssa's been all right. Beckett's been all right. So we're just sharing the family info with you. But yeah, it's crazy how things going along. And speak of the devil, there's Scott Felty, and but anyways, hey, we thought we'd talk a little bit about today. Well, Brett's going to hop on with us pretty quickly, but hope your team won last night, and it's going to be warm here this week. That's a good thing. I think we're going in the 40s today, 50s tomorrow, and forgot to turn my sign on, Daniel. Golly. But yeah, we're going to get warm. We're cleaning trucks up around here today. That's going to be our number one go, is get our trucks cleaned up. We thought we were going to do a little more work over the weekend, but that didn't pan out. And we're going to throw Brett to the coals for that one, Daniel. So, but no, we were just prepared in the just in case mode is what we were in. So that's what we're doing today around here. Just getting shop cleaned up a little bit, getting the truck sprayed out, getting the salt de-icer off the truck. See, Scott, and just getting everything ready for next event. Next man up. So next person up, I guess, is appropriate there. But how many of you guys watched the Super Bowl last night? Just curious if anybody watched the Super Bowl. I watched probably the least amount of the Super Bowl I've ever watched in my life. I watched about half of the first quarter. It was 6-0, 2 field goals in, and it just, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it last night, Daniel.
Yeah.
Didn't really care about either team. And
There's something that's just in general with watching football, at least on TV. And I can say probably in person as well, just a little bit of experience. But a football game that has significance should be played at night, in the dark. or at very least in a dome. The sunniness, it makes it feel so unimportant. I don't know why,
Yeah, that's
but it
interesting.
just like really it just feels like, oh, here we just decided to play a game today,
We-
you know?
Out playing in the backyard kind
Yeah,
of thing.
like a 3:30 Super Bowl for the West Coast is just, which I get every year it is.
Yeah.
But when it's sunny,
I don't know. I never
just
really thought about it.
makes it
Maybe that was it kind of for me. I don't know what it was. It just,
it's like what when you watch like the national championship in football, it's either played in the dome or at least to my memory, like it's almost always dark, right?
yeah,
And but when you watch like a bowl game, like on any given,
it's
any
during the
other
day.
week, it's always during the day. And it
Yeah.
puts those bad shadows on the field and it makes it just look, you know, just less.
I hear you.
So it was some of that for me was just like this just doesn't feel important. Like it doesn't
Yeah.
feel like there's something on the line here.
You ever thought about that, Katie, at all? No, she hadn't.
I mean,
So,
under the lights is a thing, right? Like
yeah.
that's
Oh,
the
yeah.
thing. It's
Remember, well, there's that show, Friday Night Lights.
lights.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like there's a reason playing under the lights
It's cool.
is cool. And it's hard
Yeah.
to put your finger on what it is or why it makes it feel cool, but it's just, I don't know.
Oh, my God. That's hilarious. It says, great point. I totally agree. Seems like a Pee Wee Saturday morning football game. Oh,
Yeah.
well. It is. It is something about it going off in the daylight, Daniel. I never really thought about it till you said it, but maybe that was it.
And I couldn't tell you where it was last year or if it was sunny where it was or like daylight where it was. I don't know. I can't even remember then. But
Yeah.
um
Corey
yeah,
said he
it's
watched most of it.
yeah.
Hope your shoulder's doing, or your knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hope your knee's doing better, Corey. Coming along.
The game itself wasn't bad until I think in my opinion at least they made it 19-0.
Is that where it got to? I stopped watching at 6-0.
It was 6 and then 9 and 12. But the fact that even when it got to 9-0 though going into I think it was halftime it was 9-0. It was kind of like 9 isn't a lot to come back from, but the way
Right.
that New England was playing offense, it just looked like it was insurmountable even then.
Yeah.
And
Did
that's
you by
part of
chance watch the halftime show?
I didn't. I was
I didn't either. Corey said he just skipped everybody's halftime show. I just, and maybe that the whole time I was watching the game come on, I was thinking of the halftime show like, man, this is just going to be stupid. It's not going to, this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to say it. It's not going to be predominantly in English
yeah,
because we
the
were all
most of the
warned
songs,
about
yeah.
that.
Here's
And
my thing about that.
I mean, and I don't mean that the way it sounds, but if I'm not going to understand it, why am I going to watch it and listen to it?
I mean
You
that
know,
here's the thing I don't agree with though that people apparently are putting on so change the channel during halftime show so people don't think you're watching it and blah like are people really that petty and prejudiced that like just because it's not in like I get it. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in a country where only about 15% of the population speaks Spanish to put a Spanish show on that a predominant part of NFL fans are don't speak. It's probably like way less than the national average. Let's,
oh
be
yeah,
honest.
right,
But I don't have a problem with someone that has success, that speaks Spanish, that does, wins awards and like blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera. I don't think there should be like this national outrage of like, we can't show support for this person because like it's not his fault. He's successful. He, does what he
right.
does.
Yeah, they hired him.
Like, why are you hating on this guy? Or it just makes people look kind of ignorant about people who, because, oh, well, they speak another language. I can't, I have to turn the channel and not look at him because he speak like that's so ignorant
Yeah.
to
No,
me.
I agree. I just didn't watch it. I was like,
Yeah.
I just,
Like I don't care about his music. I've never listened to it, but it's not because he speaks Spanish or like
no, no.
ice and all this other crap. Like that has no impact on it. I just
Yeah.
don't like that kind of music.
That's exactly the way I was with it, Daniel. That's why didn't matter. Mike said he just turned on a replay of the women's hockey
Mm. I heard
He
they
said that was pretty
beat
entertaining.
Finland pretty bad.
They did. I watched the original play of that on
Mm.
the other morning. It
Yeah.
was, and honest to God, I didn't know women had hockey
Really?
till I watched it. Yeah,
Okay. There you go.
there you go. I mean, I don't know why. I never thought about women playing hockey in the Olympics.
Well, there you go.
So is
Okay.
curling women and men driven,
Don't know. Yeah, I
or
don't
if it's
know.
just a curling team?
I think it's
Uh,
probably. I feel like I've seen it together, but I don't know if that's just like. I don't know if that's right.
Yeah,
Let's
I
see
hear you.
what. Let's see if we can find that.
I'll find out. Mike said curling is co-ed.
Okay.
So yeah, I can't see where gender would play any role in that at all. So,
Yeah, I
but
wouldn't think so.
but anyways, I hope your team won last night. If you were a Seahawks fan or whatnot, so um, they seem to really uh, appreciate the win, and I give them kudos for winning the Super Bowl. That's something nobody can ever take away from them to say the least. Uh, Corey said he turned it off because it was adult entertainment and his kids were watching.
Yeah, and that's part
Couldn't
of
take the chance of
that's
something
part of
he
it
had
too.
to dress later. I don't know. I didn't even watch it, so I don't know. You know?
Usually, a lot of the Super Bowl, halftime shows are more risque, if you will. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's yeah.
It says the nighttime games have psychological and physical effect.
Okay. Okay.
The artificial lighting focuses attention, especially when in person, but also works via television. It triggers higher release of adrenaline and cortisol.
Yeah.
Plus, later games are anticipated longer through the day, so the mind and body is a bit exhausted. Super short answer, but
Huh.
accurate.
There you go.
There you
I
go.
honestly I forgot the Super Bowl was
Thank you.
even going to be on yesterday until I don't know if it was like a uh advertisement or whatever, like during the Olympics they were
Yeah.
maybe talking something about. I can't remember what, but I just saw a football field and I was like, "Oh wait, the Super Bowl's on tonight." So,
I miss the
I wasn't.
commercials talking. Let's
Yeah.
roll this back into profit time, right? Marketing and whatnot. I missed some of the commercials. I did see the Coke commercial, and that was my favorite one of the ones I saw. Or it was Pepsi's commercial. But yeah,
Maybe it backfired because people are maybe thinking it's a Coke commercial.
really, but because it was a Coke bear, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the polar bears. Yeah. And God, isn't that something to think they spent that kind of money? And a lot of people are referring to it as a Coke commercial.
Yeah.
You know,
You
damn.
never know what the impact's
What?
going to be.
Yeah, there you go. But it was a good commercial.
Yeah.
It was a good commercial, and people talk about the cost of advertising and whatnot, and you know, and how expensive it is for the Super Bowl. But I've talked about this before, Daniel. But I read an article several years ago that the cost per eyeball, if you will, is actually less than a normal commercial would be. It's extremely expensive, but it's because there's so many people watching.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
cost per viewer
the
is
cost per
lower.
viewer actually is less expensive than it is during a regular programming show, for an example. So I thought that was pretty interesting to say the least. So when
Yeah.
I learned that,
Yeah.
that it's not what you're paying to get in front of somebody, it's what's the cost to get in front of somebody. It's kind of like, just break this down really simple. It's like Facebook ads, right? They say, hey, you'll be in front of 2 to 4,000 people or whatever. That's it. It's how many people you're going to get in front of,
Yeah.
and what are they going to remember about your commercial. And
They always have some kind of bizarre ones too, like not necessarily brands that are doing bizarre ones but you see like public service bizarre ones sometimes. It feels like there's some um just ones where I'm like, what was that for? You know? Because you're thinking that's going to be like a company or brand and then It's just for like
That,
like a PSA.
yeah. That's Katie, what was your favorite commercial on the ones the Pepsi one? Yeah. So she saw Backstreet Boys. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing I missed, man. Like I was watching this show. I start binge watching this show, tabbing out this weekend, called Joe Pickett.
Mm.
And it's really, really slow. It's on Paramount Plus for you guys listening. It's really slow, but it's like a good marketing campaign. Let's turn this into a little business side here. You know, it's repetitive, right? It's just you keep doing it over and over and over. That this Joe Pickett is slow, and you know it's like we watched about 4 episodes and said we're not watching any more of this. And then Saturday morning, I decided to turn it on. I said, "Damn, I'm gonna turn that on a minute." And man, we binge watched that thing for 5 hours. I mean, it was crazy. And so anyway, I don't know where I was even going with that, but it was
Why you missed the
it,
commercials?
oh yeah, okay, yeah. But that is the nice thing about streaming. You don't have to watch the commercials.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But so I'd give y'all the hey, check that out, Joe Pickett. It's about a game warden out in uh, Wyoming, and it's a pretty good show, man. But stay with it. It's slow, but but stay with it. But all right, let's take a short break. Corey said books are awesome for Joe Pickett. I've already pre-ordered the next one. I think they're at or near 25, so that's cool.
Like a series?
There's two seasons on Paramount. So,
But I'm saying like the book is a series.
oh, is the book a series, Corey? Daniel was wanting to know as you heard him ask. So, I had to make sure your mic was on, so he would know. But Corey said also the Farming Legacy commercial was good, and he said it was funny to see complete 180 for Bud Light. I didn't see that commercial, so I don't
I saw one, but it was like
I
the
don't know what that's all about.
I didn't I saw it, but I really wasn't sure what was going on. It was just like a bird and a horse running around, I
Oh, what?
think is what it
Hmm.
was, or something like that.
I'm sure you can go back and check the commercials out. So be interesting to see what's going on with all those. So we're let's see what else we got here. Got something really neat I want to talk to, but I don't want to hop into it yet. We're gonna
I'll
talk.
say before we hop on into and maybe Bam gives us a call here, just as a short little add on to what you're talking about with TV series. And another great series, and I'm about 5 or 6 times watching it in now. I usually do it about once per year, is Band of Brothers. So if you haven't seen Band of Brothers, watch that.
I watched that one weekend when you came home from college.
Yeah. It's about
It's
10
like 10 or
episodes.
12 of them, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a really good series.
Yeah. Corey said, yep, it is good. So, will you just rewatch it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's on HBO right now.
They were over in Europe, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I think I remember watching that with you. What's it on?
HBO right now.
Okay.
It's been on Netflix and stuff like
I
that
got
too.
you. Yeah. There are some good things, man, on, that you just run across, and then some of them you're like, oh my God, why'd I just waste an hour of my life on this? So, but anyways, speaking an hour of your life, I appreciate you guys giving me an hour of your life here on Turfs Up Radio every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. We got I want to let you guys know we got a seminar coming up in at Scotty's Lawn Equipment, and that's going to be February 24th. We're going to talk about scripts in your business, which we talked about that in the profit circle a little bit. And Katie's going to elaborate on that. She's actually doing our presentation down there on that. And then we're going to also be talking about snow and ice management in a low snow market. So, um, and what we'll talk about there too will apply to anybody's market. So if you guys are in that area, the Evansville, Indiana area, feel free to reach out to Scotty's and see. They have a really great open house there, second to none. And I've literally done hundreds of them across the country, and they certainly understand how to do an open house and make it educational, making it fun, and the rotation of how they do it with different education sources and manufacturer reps. And these guys have a first class open house. So that's going to be February 25th, Hobstadt, Indiana. And if you're interested, I'm sure you can reach out to Scotty's Lawn Equipment there. And this is their 34th annual Pro Cutter University, Daniel.
It's crazy.
34 of them. And I don't know, I've been part of that with them for a whole lot of them. Let's put it that. I don't know how many for sure. I'd have to look it up. So a bunch, a bunch of them to say the least. So, but with that being said, I wanted to talk about one of my favorite things, Daniel, other than snow. And we're probably going to talk a little bit about snow here in a little bit. But I want to talk about customer satisfaction versus customer loyalty. And I want you guys to think about that for a second. You know, what's most important to you? Is it customer satisfaction or customer loyalty? And it's not a trick question. It's just I want to get you guys thinking a little bit as we're here we are what February 9th. We're finding out who's canceled, who's coming back. You know, existing contracts may be good, but it's that time of the year where we're looking at our databases and for some of us, depending on how our business model's set up, we're wondering who's coming back, who's not coming back, who's satisfied, who's not satisfied, who's loyal, who's not loyal. And I always like talking about it to see get differing opinions on it. And this is really fun to discuss at a seminar when you can get quite a bit of interaction going. Um, but it's the reality of it is, I want you guys to ask yourself, and again, it's not wrong or right, but what's more important to you? Is it customer satisfaction or customer loyalty? Because they're both important. You know, you have to have satisfied customers. We have to have loyal customers. But for me, you know, my thinking on it is, and that doesn't make it right, but my thinking on it is that customer loyalty is more important than customer satisfaction. Now, they kind of drive each other. It's kind of like marketing and advertising. You know, uh, customer satisfaction and customer loyalty is kind of merged together into one union, if you will. But I also know that I've had satisfied customers fire me, you know, and you've probably had that same phone call where somebody calls you up and says, "Hey, Corey, you're doing a great job," or "Hey, Mike, you're doing a great job, but," you know, and then once you hear the "but," it's you know what's coming. And for whatever reason, you know, well, you know, I've got a friend whose husband's now in the lawn business and, you know, or the landscaping business or the lighting business or whatever kind of business that they're in, you know, they call you to give you the Dear John call, if you will. And let's see, I don't, Corey says loyalty for him. If you tell me I don't do anything wrong, but you're going with a cheaper price, you're dead to me. Kevin O'Leary,
That's
you're
funny.
dead to me. And that's it. I mean, satisfied customers do fire us. I mean, they do fire Wayne's Lawn Service, you know. And but here's something too that we found, and that's why we think loyalty is more important. Is just because you don't do something right for somebody, think of yourself. How many times hasn't something maybe not went right you know, at a whether it's something somewhere where you're buying something or a restaurant or, you know, whatever it is, fill in the blank where you had a bad experience, but they made it right, so you continue to buy from them. So that's my whole line of thinking on loyalty being more important than customer satisfaction. You
I
know,
kind of think of it when you said that as like, are from flipping it kind of the pump station a little bit, exercise is kind of like customer loyalty or customer satisfaction. And your goal, let's say in this case it's health, to be healthy, is customer loyalty. You have to exercise in order to be healthy. You have to satisfy customers at least a given number of times in order for them to become loyal, right? If you go out and mess their yard up 3, 4 times in a row and you haven't done anything right for them yet, they're probably going to be like, all right, there's no loyalty built up. We're done here. So it's the same with exercise. You have to put in the work to reach the goal. The goal is loyalty, but you can't get to that loyalty without satisfying them a certain number of times along the way. And the same is true with exercise. You might miss an exercise, miss a workout here. You might go and to the bar one night, and but you've built up the through the exercise, through doing the actions to be healthy. You can afford to mess up and miss the workout, go to the bar, but you can still be healthy. And the same is true with the customer loyalty. As long as you build up that reservoir of satisfaction, you can mess up a few times. You can, put skid marks in their yard or, whatever. And because you've built that up, the action is the satisfaction. The goal is the loyalty. It's hard to do things. It's like, what are you doing specifically to make someone loyal that doesn't satisfy them?
Yes,
So you have to satisfy them, but you satisfy them so they become loyal.
correct. That is my whole point, with this is that exact point that, the loyalty is the most important. There's Matt Plahuta with a fresh haircut. Or yeah, but yeah, I would just soon have a loyal customer as a satisfied customer for those reasons. And I think you brought up a really good point there that it's all about the action of satisfaction that creates the loyalty. Because
Right.
none of us are perfect, man. I mean, we talk about it all the time. And in our particular market here in Louisville, Kentucky, we have to satisfy customers about 40 times a year. You know, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm selling you a dinner at Texas Roadhouse, I got to satisfy you one evening with one meal. Your steak's got to be right, your food's got to be hot, and the service good. You know, but if I have to do that 40 times a year, there's chances that maybe the steak isn't quite right.
Yeah.
Or
And the thing is, if your steak isn't quite right, let's say you as Wayne Voles have a tolerance of, let's say, 5 bad experiences before your loyalty runs out. If they go 0 for 5 at the beginning, they're not building any loyalty, right? It
right,
doesn't matter how the perception of this food should be good or the brand name or whatever else. You have to put in the bank some loyalty points through the satisfaction. Now, if you're let's say you do go to Texas Roadhouse a total of 40 times, the first 10, you're 9-1. You got 9 good and 1 bad. Then that 1 bad isn't nearly as bad as if that first bad was the first time you went.
yeah. But do you go back?
For sure. I think most people, in that everybody has like a different threshold for how many bad experiences they can have before loyalty runs out.
Actually, U.S. News and World Report did a thing many years ago on why customers actually leave. And it was the number one reason, and it was like over 60%. Okay. The number one reason was not cost. They called it the attitude of indifference when a customer called with a complaint about something. Rather than listening and solving the problem and moving along, rather than saying, oh, she's just a dumbass, you know. And
Yep.
we've all thought it and said it even, but in the message going back to the client, if it's somebody you want to retain, it's like we think one thing, but we got to say something else,
Yeah.
you
And
know.
part of that is like how what you're doing in responding to them quickly and with care is you're satisfying them. Right?
Correct.
Even though you might have messed something up that didn't satisfy them, which is why they're mad, you are trying to add another point in the bank of the satisfying column when you get back to them quickly and you show that you care.
Yeah.
Some people have a no. Some people literally have no tolerance. You mess up one time, doesn't matter if you have 40 in a row.
Yeah. No,
And
that's true
and
too.
those are obviously people that you want to try to filter out beforehand and figure out why if they had 18 different lawn mowing services by June, and that's part of your questionnaire and everything that you want, whatever you want to call it. Um, but everybody it doesn't matter, but you want to try to get and attract people that have a higher tolerance for loyalty over, if I'm not satisfied every time, then you're gone.
Then you're gone. Mike said he said he also thinks the script can be flipped on this topic. He said, I'm downsizing mowing a lot this year. I've been on the other end of you haven't done anything wrong, but, you know, and that is it. I mean, you can be you can have very satisfied customers that fire you for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It is, whether it's cost or whether it's they know somebody else that's got into the business or,
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the list goes on and on.
and that's where, like you said, getting out of a service that's highly competitive that drives the price down is a smarter move in that sense, because and this kind of goes back to like the tolerance aspect. Everybody has a certain tolerance for everything, right? Like
Right.
getting out of mowing for a second, like let's say you just are a milk lover and you love, kind of getting home and drinking your glass of milk every night. And what's the brand, like the big popular
Deans.
Dean's? Yeah. You've been drinking Dean's since you were, 3 years old. And every night you have a glass and you got 3 gallons in the fridge. If there a new brand came along that sold milk for, let's say a gallon of milk right now is maybe I don't know what it is, $4, $3. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But let's say a new brand came along and it started to gain some traction and people started talking about it, and it's doing well, and they're selling for $1.50 and there's no downsides. That guy that's drinking milk every night that goes, oh, well, I'm paying $4 and I could be paying $1.50 for, pretty much the same quality, which is, how you could flip it into mowing and say, well, you're not getting the same quality, blah, blah, blah. But everybody has a threshold when it comes to something that could be potentially highly competitive.
Yes.
And that's once again where getting out of that sort of service, or if you're not going to get out of it, how come, why is your mowing 20% higher? Well, this is because we do this, 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 and this
Right.
instead of that, and that, which is why they are 20% lower, whatever.
Right. And the consumer doesn't care why something's less.
Right.
They don't care why the milk's $1.50 cheaper.
Right. If
They
if you're
don't
being satisfied by that $1.50 milk the same way that the $4 milk is satisfying, then why would you?
why well, yeah, why would you if it's got, the same vitamins and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You know. So that's where it's up to you to create loyalty above and beyond price
Right.
to a certain extent.
Especially in services that you can more effectively do that.
Yes. Yes. And that drives the question of what are you doing for your existing customers to create loyalty? In other words, there's nothing more frustrating to me, for an example, is you see a lot of like, AT&T or Spectrum or T-Mobile. These are big national brands, right? That have these great specials, but you cannot be an existing customer to take advantage of it. It's like, okay, this is what we're going to hook you with. It's the Mike Andes effect. We're going to hook you low and then raise you high, and you can't do shit about it. If you want to leave, leave.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't. That's not a business model that I want to promote. I'm not saying that they're wrong and we're right. I'm just saying that's not a business model that I want. I don't want to hook a customer in and then say, okay, well, hey, it's 40 to start, but hey, in September you raise their price to 60 and see who goes and see who stays. I think it's more about acquire the customer and then ask yourself, what are we going to do to keep them? And what we do at Wayne's Lawn Service is we try to give them a reason to stay based on not just a fair cost, okay, because we know we're probably not going to be the least expensive in most cases, but give them a fair cost, but also give them the ability to, when they call in here, somebody answers the phone or somebody returns a phone call to them. We give them good service, not perfect service, but our goal is excellence, not perfection. That's a totally different discussion, or can be part of this one. But I think that's important too, that you don't expect perfection out of yourself or your crews, because you can't be perfect all the time.
Yeah.
You can be excellent. You might have a perfect run. IU football had a perfect season. But I'm sure they're probably going to be a really good football team next year, but they might lose a game. So, who knows? I mean, maybe they'll go 10 years without losing a game. Nobody knows. But my point is, sometimes the goal is set too high on what you expect yourself or your team members, your business, what you're going to live up to. But what you can live up to always is accountability, ethical business practices. And I think that's very important. And that's something that we try to do with our customers, is to let them know that we're always going to do what's in uh, their best interest and our best interest. It's got to be good for both people. And sometimes those lines don't intersect, right? I mean, what Daniel as a customer may think, and give me your ideas on this, Daniel, what you may think something is not a fair compromise, but the company does, or vice versa. We don't think, hey, you want this done, but we don't know that that's really in everybody's our best interest as well. Then we have a choice to make as the company. What are we going to do then to try to meet a balance in there, number one, but how do we achieve that balance? How do we achieve that balance to create the loyalty where, goes back to what my dad used to tell me all the time and taught me, that, what's the definition of a good deal? And again, that's kind of like, what's more important, customer satisfaction or customer loyalty? But in my world, the definition of a good deal, uh, and this is just because it's the way I was trained by my dad, and it's just that the definition of a good deal is when both the buyer and the seller of the good or service is happy with what they've paid and what's going to be done. And then the consummation of that sale is the follow through of the product and or service based on what that customer's buying from you. So I think sometimes we look too hard as business owners at what the end result we want, but how are we going to get to the end? In other words, hey, we would, let's say your goal may be, hey, I want to have a 95% customer retention rate. Well, what am I willing to do to have a 95% customer retention rate for this service or that service? And understand that within that customer carousel every year of customers hopping off and customers hopping on, you got new customers you lose, customers you add. There's a lot of things that get involved in that customer carousel that you can't control,
Yeah.
like somebody else's pricing. And then when they get a cheaper price, and then they start thinking, well, have had a problem with Wayne showing up, or I have had a problem with them not responding to my phone calls. That's where it's the little things that you're not following through with that would create that loyalty for that customer. So know that you're not going to be perfect, but what you can be excellent at is making sure you're there for the customer when something's not right.
Yeah.
That's number one. Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I think maybe kind of down the line that you're going is like make sure that you're not overpaying for loyalty either, right?
Correct.
Because
Yes.
customer attention is only as important as or only as valuable as like the model that you are sticking with that is profitable for you. You know, like it may be you may the way you keep Miss Smith loyal may be costing your company money. So keeping someone loyal may actually be less profitable or simply just like actually losing your company money. So getting rid of them and getting someone else on board while your customer acquisition cost may be something that you can look at and say, oh, well, that's costing me. I know how much that's costing me. You may not be able to know or put into exact numbers how much it actually cost you to spend 7 more minutes per day or 1 day on the job for Miss Smith on this thing, and then 6 more, and then 4 more, and 2 more, and 7 more. And every week to keep
Right.
them loyal, you're losing money. So making sure that your system of keeping people loyal is profitable as well, and knowing like that loyalty is key in the right format, in the right system.
Correct. Don't take loyalty, the importance of loyalty, past the purpose of your business, and that's to make a profit. You know, and that doesn't mean that you're not going to have, maybe, when you're doing a reoccurring service for somebody, whether it's lawn applications or mowing services or whatever, maybe it's twice a year trimming and mulching, whatever that reoccurring service may be, or just a one-off service. Or you should know what your margins are there, and if there is an issue with the customer, how far you can go, or do you want to go to do, Daniel, exactly what you're talking about? Well, maybe we do give give into this at this rate to preserve their satisfaction on the job, to create the loyalty. But don't let that preservation of loyalty or satisfaction dig into, okay, now we've done the job below cost, and let's just free the time up for somebody else. That's the other thing you got to look at. So it's not just customer satisfaction, customer loyalty. It's what surrounds all that. What surrounds all that is your business model, your company culture, knowing why you do what you do, knowing why you charge what you charge, knowing how far you're willing to go for a customer. you know, well, hey, well, she wants this, and there's a lawn application, that we did. It'd be less expensive to go do a follow up weed control application than it would be to replace the customer. Now, if that's constant of, hey, I got a dandelion in my yard, I got a dandelion in my yard, I got a dandelion in my yard. Well, maybe you look at it and say, hey, what we're putting into this to try to create satisfaction and loyalty is exceeding the expectations and the profit on the job on a regular basis. Then it don't make sense. So that, you got a very valid point with that, Daniel, is don't get hung up in the loyalty side only. Know what that customer acquisition cost is, know what the average length of time your customer's lifespan is. And I don't mean their real lifespan, your average customer lifespan with you in your company. Is it 7 years, 10 years? I mean, maybe you're a new company and you don't know yet for sure what that is, but you will have a moving number the longer you're in business as to what that, because it's again, it's an average of, hey, these are the customers we had, these are the customers we lost, how long have they been with us? So then you got to decide if you're going to use that matrix for an example to determine, yeah, we're really going down a deeper hole than we were, but if you're going to use that matrix, then you got to throw, what's that, the median, the mean, and what's
Mode.
the mode. That's where those three things become important, you know, um, in determining what you're willing to invest in a customer to maintain that loyalty. So, hey, let's take a short break. We'll be right back with more Profit Time. Customer satisfaction versus customer loyalty. A lot of things go into it, no doubt about it. But, I was reading a book, and I've shared this with you guys here on Turfs Up in the past, but on this very topic, and I can't remember the author on it, but it was customer satisfaction. What was it? Customer satisfaction is important, but customer loyalty is priceless, or something like that. I'll have to look and see exactly what that name, what that name is on there. But really a good read, really a good read, and I know a lot of you guys out there like to read quite a bit, and that's one of the really good reads that I've looked at. So I will. I'll look at. I'll look at. I'll look at the name on that and let you guys know Wednesday if I think about that. I really will try to make a conscious effort to do that for you guys. But you know, bidding season is just right around the corner, and I wanted to talk today about that whole concept of bidding jobs, and not just bidding jobs, but the standpoint of, hey, let's go out and get some work. We need to build a database, and how do we go about that? And you know some of the problem with that is, and we're going to talk more about it in the profit circle as well. We've got a video that we're going to do on this, but just to talk about it briefly here, because I know we just got a few minutes. But the reality of it is, you know, when you're out trying to build a business, and I remember this specifically. This was my mindset too. Was, man, I need to work. I need to get my name out there. What am I willing to do? What am I willing to sacrifice to get my name out there? And one of the biggest mistakes that I made was willing to get my name out there at a price that wasn't sustainable for me and my company, even though at that point I was a one person operation, you know, and you think, well, it's never going to get any less expensive to operate than it is right now as a one truck operation. And um, that's one way of looking at it. But on the other side, uh, you know, uh, it it's probably not going to get any more expensive to operate. The percentages change, so I don't want y'all to think I'm crazy when I say this. That's why I say we don't have enough time to really go in depth on this. But um, as your company grows, your operational costs can decrease percentage wise, um, based on the use rates of that equipment. So your pricing is different as you grow versus when you're small. But the pricing methodology that most companies use is the exact opposite of that. Is I'll go in cheap and then I'll raise my prices. The problem with that whole thing is, and the only reason we do it is because we don't know what we don't know. You know, um, it's a terrible business model to have that business model that says, hey, I'm just going to go in cheap, get the work, and see what happens. But we do it because, and the first and most important thing about that is we simply do it because we don't know what we don't know, and about pricing, that is, and we don't understand that we're taking the market backwards. And any of you guys that have been in business any length of time, let's just say I'm just going to pull a number out of there, over 5 years, let's say, over 5, 6, 7 years time frame. The reality of that is you've seen some companies come and go. And the longer you've been in business, the more companies you've seen come and go. And why do we see them come and go? It's because they're not making what they need to be making on the jobs. and it's because their pricing structure's broke. And that's why that business model mindset that's out there that says, hey, let's put on a whole bunch of customers and then we'll raise their prices, see who stays, who doesn't stay. And the ones that go, go, and the ones that stay, we're making more money on, but they got us going. I'm just curious if you looked at that business model and said, hey, let me understand my cost per hour of operation, how to calculate that based on my projected goals for my company, and go out and sell to the customers that I know where they are that can afford what I need to charge. And then I'll then become more diversified and sell them more profitable services. I'm just all for leaving the step out of taking them on too cheap and having to go back and reprice the job. And if they go, they go. If they stay, they stay. Because I'm here to tell you, I was the king of doing it backwards. I was the contractor that everybody hated. That came in and says, "My God, Wayne's killing us. Wayne's killing us." They're underbidding these jobs. They're underbidding these jobs. Well, the reality of it is, we as business owners have 100% control over what we're going to charge for the job. That's number one. Now, what we decide to do with that control, again, is up to us as the business owners. And I just ask you, before we get into bidding, and we'll talk more about this Wednesday, but before we get into the heavy bidding season time of the year, which is, we're creeping in on that for a lot, right? I would like to see you guys give yourself the respect of understanding what your true cost per hour of operation are, so you can develop a minimum pricing standard for your services, regardless of what they are. Whether you're doing fertilization and weed control, whether you're doing mowing, whatever. You know, I just think that the reality of it is, we do it backwards. And you don't have to believe me on this. You just have to take a look at the industry and see, what's where the industry's been and what the industry has done over the years. And that's when you look at the failure rates for our industry. And we're not failing because we're stupid. Or it's not failing because we're lazy. We're failing because we don't know what we don't know. Love to have you guys in the Profit Circle with us. Go to our website, Profits Are Us. That's profits, AREUS.com. See the Profit Circle right there and join in with us and let us help you earn what you deserve, because profit is not a dirty word. We'll see you Wednesday.